We had to forego camping because I have a lot to do, both in harvesting and canning our harvest. Right here, you can, I already made some applesauce out of the state fair apples that we got from another garden. So this is what's left on them. And then our crabapple trees, the 3 trees that gave us fruit this year, you can see we've got a 5-gallon bucket here and almost a half here and a bucket here. Picked some of our potatoes. These were newly purchased Norland seeds, or not seeds, but starts. And you know, you get what, about a 5-pound bag, and you can see how many you can get potentially, depending on the year, of course. So I got those because the plants were just ready to get pulled. And as usual, zucchini. After we got done camping the last time, it rained for 3 days, so I wasn't able, and it was a rain that you just didn't want to work in. So the zucchini got quite large, but these are going to my friend's chickens, so they'll enjoy them. Chickens love zucchini. So, and in the greenhouse over here, it's kind of nice. You know, you wait for months to harvest what you planted. Don't know if it's going to be successful. I did have a few seed failures, but overall it's been a very successful year. I went ahead and dug up the volunteer garlic. This is a Spanish Roja. It's a purple stripe as well. Lots of our onions have come in. It's got more down here. Some are just kind of from the shallots that I planted and let go quite large. But the big garlic here, I just picked yesterday, or maybe Monday, I can't remember. But you can see, I like this German purple stripe because you got such large cloves. And you don't have any of those interior cloves like you do with the soft neck. This is hard neck garlic. And then, of course, we already harvested the scapes earlier into spring, late spring. But the nice thing is, what you see is what you get. You don't have any of those hidden little tiny garlics in there. And it's a really strong, tasty garlic. So I have them here in the greenhouse. I'm letting the dirt dry off because it was pretty wet. And then I'll scrape that off and I'll let them develop that husk that they need, the papery skin. And so I'm just curing everything in here. So it's nice to have this greenhouse for that. It's nice and warm in here generally. It's a nice cool day today, but we'll still get the rays from the hidden sun. So even though there's not a lot going on in the gardens right now because it's kind of stagnant, we'll go look at them anyway because they're beautiful. This chokeberry bush is finally, the berries have finally matured. I've been picking it. About one, it's pretty tedious, but it has to be done. See how nice and dark they get? And they get larger as they mature. But I have one more picking. I hope to get that done today, then I'll be done. I wash them, I dry them, and then I freeze them on trays, and then I put them in bags. Gift a lot of them, but they're great in your smoothies or substitute for blueberries or whatever you have. But the nice thing is, it's a beautiful plant. You get flowers in the spring, you get the berries in the summer, and in fall the foliage turns red. So it's a nice plant to have, but they're very prolific, which is good, what you want them to be. And they're low maintenance. I don't do anything with them. They're pretty much bug resistant, also disease resistant. I love my Grape Vine. They let them go wild because I think that's what they like to do. And what I do in the springtime is I'll cut the woody stems down, and then they'll just keep growing, and they also become more prolific. We'll get more grapes on them. And they'll be maturing here in probably another couple weeks. They should be mature. Plums are about ready to mature as well. You can see they're starting to get a little bit of pink hue to them. There's a couple mature. Of course, you can see the color they'll become. Here, this is the color they become. Again, they're small but delicious. I harvested all the berries. Oh, I guess I missed a few. I'll come get them later. off of the chokeberry bushes in here. You can see how tall they get, and you can see how short I am, but the nice thing is they're very viable, so you can just pull them down and pick them. Except I'm leaving a couple onions in for next year's seeds here and there, but all the onions are gone here. I'm going to put a bunch of compost down in this area because it's been a while since I amended this soil. So the compost pile we have sitting over the other side of the garden, a lot of that will go over here. These potatoes are blooming, meaning they're forming their tubers. You can see they're going to be white potatoes. Not sure what kind, because these were the ones that were left over from my root cellar, so they could be Kennebec or Yukon or even German Butterball. You can tell after you pick them and cut into them. You can see it's time to harvest nearly the spaghetti squash. I usually wait till the stem gets a little brown prior to harvest them. But as usual, this time of year it's so humid, it's hard to prevent any fungus and diseases. Every plant is different on their tolerance level. This is the last of my blueberries. I come out here and pick every day because you can see some of them are ripe. Yesterday the ones are now ripe weren't, so they start ripening pretty fast. So it's going to be a lot of blueberries. We already got our black currants months ago. They ripen fast. About ready to start making some salsa. The bees are hard at work pollinating, even though peppers have a complete flower, and they will pollinate themselves with the wind agitating the plant. However, bees make them more active, and then you get more fruit really. This is where I dug up the potatoes, right here. In this corner here, everything is just going to be going dormant here soon. This is the last of the onions here that I need to pick. These are garlic leeks here. They're good to have in the garden. You don't come out and pick them, throw them in whatever stew pot or salad that you want. Okra here, we got nice looking okra here. I'll have to come grab. We had some yesterday. And this is where the garlic was, and I got some volunteer potatoes here and there. They'll either be red or Kennebec, so we'll see once I dig them up. But this garden is starting to wind down. I'm always grateful for that. You can't wait to get in the gardens, and you can't wait to be done. Our market more cucumbers that got in late. Still haven't got a cucumber, but that'll be a nice treat when everything else is basically finished providing for us. But we've been really blessed this year with a good harvest, as you can see. These elderberries will probably be picked probably mid-September. You can see they're going to be real finicky, but they're worth it, worth growing. I let a lot of my garlic chives go to seed, not on purpose sometimes, just because I'm so busy doing other things, but I don't mind when it reseeds. It's a pretty little plant, and it comes back every year, even if you knock it down. When sometimes I have to hoe in here to get rid of the weeds in between the plants, and they just come right back because they're from the root, just like an onion would be. Our old chicken yard. I do miss my chickens, but it's nice to be free just to pick up and leave whenever we want. And the benefit of having chickens for so long, they really made the ground fertile. And we're getting some nice pumpkins. These should be the fairy tale. Some people call them Cinderella carriage, because usually they look more like once they mature, like a Cinderella carriage from the cartoon. But the vine, oh, there's a really nice orange one over there. You can see it's a nice area to grow the pumpkins because they need the room. And here in a couple of days, I'm going to start cutting some of the vines down, so they'll put all the energy into maturing the pumpkins that need to be matured. Because again, there's a nice one. You know, since we have such a short growing season, I want them to put the energy towards the ones that are needing to mature. Now, the thing I like about these particular pumpkins is they're got a lot of flesh in them. That's a pretty one. So they did well in this garden because of the fertile soil. Things are winding down here as well. I don't know if you've ever seen a parsnip seed, but they're pretty different. They almost feel like paper. They don't store well in the for year after year. My hollyhock has fallen down because they got so heavy with seed. So I'm going to collect a lot of those. Thus far, I probably have harvested about 10 pounds of tomatoes. I haven't canned any right now. I'm just putting them in the freezer. I'm just going to make a lot of green salsa and tomatillo salsa this year, not red salsa. So in the wintertime, when I want to make something with tomatoes, I'll have some in the freezer. These Cherokee purple tomatoes are just wonderful. And these are all, I grow mostly heirloom, and they do tend to get ugly, but they are flavorful. You can't go wrong with these type. It'll get a little bit darker on the counter, but the reason I pulled it is so the energy, just like the pumpkins, will go into the ones that aren't ripe yet. But that's a big tomato. It doesn't even fit in my hand almost. It is hard to tell when these German green tomatoes are ready, but typically they'll be lighter in color, similar to those down there. And sometimes they, if they start getting too ripe, they almost turn like a yellow. So you gotta be careful with those because they can get pretty soft when they get overripe. And which is fine if you're making salsa, no big deal, right? So, but I like them, but that was the last of my Aunt Ruby green, German green I think they're called. So I probably won't plant those again, but all the tomato plants thus far really held up to the moisture. I canned 20 quarts of green beans, so shouldn't be long before I have to pick some more and can some more. I don't like to get them bigger than a number 2 pencil size. And even though these are supposed to be stringless, they can develop strings here and there, so the bigger they get, that's a possibility. But typically, once a week I come out and harvest, and it's back-breaking work, but I love it. We love green beans. They're good for you. Pretty soon, these tomatillos will start filling up their husk, and we can start harvesting them. They seem kind of slow this year, but they'll all come in at once. Oh, my gladiola. I was in here a couple days ago, didn't even notice. My gladiola finally bloomed. I got them in late again, and which I like to do. That way, we'll have some late flowers. And there you have it. It's a little jungle in here. The greenhouse garden is almost my favorite because it has the most flowers. I'm going to improve the other gardens next year with flowers as well, so that'll be fun. So, dead-headed my yarrow. I'm excited to collect the fennel seeds, put them in my spice cabinet. Bees are just loving this garden. I'm gonna harvest some pickles today and get those canned up. I like canning pickles. They're quick, they're easy. And I don't water bath can anymore. I use a steam canner, and boy, it saves me time, energy, water. So if you're interested in switching up from water bath canning to steam canning, it is authorized and safe and recommended. I would suggest you do it for those 3 reasons alone. My turnips are coming up. They'll like the cooler weather. They can stay in the ground quite a while. I harvested my cabbage here and put it up in my sauerkraut crock. We like sauerkraut quite a bit. Those cranberries are just going to town. I was going to try to come up and pick up some today. It was supposed to rain, but I don't think it's going to. They're just a beautiful color. These are all the trees that we harvested our crab apples and state fair apples from. More cranberries. Very ornamental if you think about it, like little jewels on the shrubs there. I did not harvest these crabs here because typically if they don't come off the tree easily, I don't want to pull them. I don't want to ruin the next year's growing bud. But typically to harvest them, you put the eye to the sky, and if it comes off, it's ready. But these didn't want to do that, so I said I'll just leave them for a little longer. You can see a couple onions are ready to harvest. The greens have fallen down. And the nice thing about onions, they'll come above the soil and they'll start curing themselves, meaning they're getting that papery skin on them. But then I just cure them a bit more to get all the moisture off of them in the greenhouse. And I typically, when the greens are fully dry, that's when I put them up in a bag and in our shop and use them as needed. I try to grow varieties that are long storage, so we have them throughout the winter to spring. This is the tree that I got the 5-gallon bucket from. It was very giving, very good tree. Oh, always seem to miss one. See how easy that came off? Maybe you didn't. But yeah, I just put the eye to the sky and there it was. This is the tree. It was having a difficult time after we planted it the 2nd year, so it didn't give us any fruit, and that's fine. If it just stays like this, that'll be fine. It did give me one. How about that? As soon as I say it didn't give me any fruit. Nope, not ready. These pumpkins here, they're going to be hard to see. There's one growing up there. These are my pied pumpkins. So. Ooh, this one's quite large for a pied pumpkin. I don't remember the variety. Normally I thought they were going to be like the Jack B. Littles, but I don't think these were the Jack B. Littles. So that's why they're probably larger. Jack B. Little, basically, you probably kind of seen. They sell them in stores in the fall. They're like decorative. I threw some kale seeds down here, and surprisingly enough, they're already starting to germinate. I was hoping that would wait till next year, but that's okay. I saved a lot of the seeds, so I'll have plenty. And there you have it. Just been a very wonderful year for the garden. It's just beautiful. The weather's been just gorgeous. We've got plenty of rain. It wasn't too hot. And everything's just thrived, and we're blessed. So thanks for watching.